Those were Hamas members feasting in a Gaza mall. Gee, I wonder where they got all that food. Folks, we're bringing you much-needed truth here and setting the record straight. We live in times that the prophet Isaiah described very accurately, where good is called evil and evil is called good. Sadly, Western leaders are following right along with Isaiah's narrative. Over the past week, France, the UK, and Canada have all declared that they're set to recognize a Palestinian state in September, rewarding terror as the hostages continue to suffer. Then this weekend, we saw tens of thousands of people in Sydney, Australia, march against Israel. As the West abandons the world's one and only Jewish state, it's no wonder Hamas is doubling down and refusing a ceasefire. It seems the longer Hamas drags out the fight, the more the world turns against Israel. If you know Bible prophecy, this is really no surprise. While America is turning back to faith under President Trump, hostility against Jews and Bible-believing Christians is growing in other parts of the Western world, including the Great White North. We've got a shocking report from Christian worship leader Sean Foyt on what he faced while visiting Canada last week. That's after the break. Stick around. Welcome back to Stacklebeck Tonight. Public worship is under siege in Canada. Over 100 churches burned, pastors fined and jailed, peaceful Christian events canceled with no explanation, and now American worship leader Sean Foyt just saw 6 events abruptly canceled. Not because of safety concerns, not because of violence, but because he dared to worship Jesus in public in Canada. In a country where pro-Hamas artists are welcomed on stage and anti-Christian mobs are rarely challenged, Sean has become a target and a symbol. But he says this isn't just about him, it's about every believer who wants to worship freely. Sean joins us now. Sean, always great to see you, my friend. 6 events last week that you're going to have in Canada, worship events, and they get abruptly canceled. What exactly went on here, and what does this say about what's happening up north?
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, we did not expect this. I've been leading worship in Canada for over 20 years. And so I have a long history of just God moving in amazing ways. This is our 3rd year in a row of hosting Let Us Worship outdoor worship events. We've had no issues. And, thousands of people come. It's been really powerful. But, man, something stirred up this year. And I believe God is using it as the whole world is seeing the resistance against simply peaceful Christians coming together to worship and pray. Not only that, obviously, the cities have been canceled our events, but, we've had Antifa attack us inside of a church. We've been fined. I mean, the mob online has come after us and harassed us. But you know what? The church is rising up and is not going to back down.
Amen. God's not done with Canada. Hey, 2 things. Number 1, you've led worship around the world. Tell us about where Canada ranks in comparison to places like in the Middle East where you've worshiped. And number 2, what was the climate like on the ground? What were they actually saying to you as they tried to block these worship events in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is wild. I love going to the nations. This year alone, I've worshipped in Turkey, in Israel, in Iraq. I've gone into Mozambique, in all different parts of the world. And the biggest and most fierce resistance that I've faced has actually been in Canada. That's the biggest amount of persecution and resistance. And I did not expect that, but this goes to show you the heavy anti-Christian bias, the governmental tyranny, and really the need for the church to rise up and be bold in this hour. And, every single venue that we went to, not only did we face these, government entities that want to silence the church, but, every place there's the mob, the LGBTQ mafia shows up and the protesters and Antifa shows up. And their whole goal is to stop the people of God from doing what they've done for thousands of years. Stop the people of God from worshiping. Shut up. Go into a room. Put a mask on. And you know what? I'm so thankful that a remnant church is rising in that nation, and we're starting to see a great pushback.
Yeah, you cannot stop the gospel. Many have tried. They've all failed at the end of the day. Sean, you put yourself really in physical danger as well when you're in Canada. A gas bomb of some sort was thrown at your face. So this got very, very dangerous. And look, in the lead-in I mentioned, about 100 churches have been burned in Canada over the past few years. Why aren't we hearing more about this?
Well, there is a heavy wave of persecution in that country. And, to be honest with you, I know a lot about Christian persecution around the world, but I was not made aware of this until I was in the center of it. We weren't looking for a controversy. We weren't looking for a fight. But God is revealing these demonic principalities that are trying to hold back and push down the people of God. And so we didn't ask for the fight, but here we are. And I feel like it is our job to expose it. I believe it's time for our government, the American government, to put pressure on Canada. I think it's time for the church to rise up. And we got to do everything that we can to call out the hypocrisy of the left as they try to silence Christians, and then at the same time, call the church to rise up as in a Book of Acts fashion and be bold for Jesus.
Yeah, and just last week, Sean, as you were there, the Prime Minister of Canada declared that he's going to recognize a Palestinian state. We've seen Jews targeted in places like Montreal, so a pivotal moment for that country right now. And hey, you're not deterred. You're heading back to Canada soon, right? Tell us more about what you have planned.
Yeah, it's almost like the Streisand effect, when they come to cancel you and silence you and everything else, like God flips the script. I mean, I can't tell you, over the last week, members of parliament have risen up, pastors are rising up, people are offering alternate venues because they keep being canceled. And there really is something God is doing, is agitating people to take a stand. We have people that are not even Christians. They would never step into a church. They're showing up just because they're seeing the free press. The media is giving us all the attention we need. People are showing up and giving their life to Jesus. So yeah, we're coming back. We have 5 more cities. We're starting in Winnipeg next week. Then we go to Saskatoon. We go to Edmonton, Kelowna, and then we end in Abbotsford. And I think almost all of those, except for 2, have been canceled. So we have alternate venues, but really it's become a buzz. It's gone viral. The story of what's happening up there, everybody is paying attention. And I'm just believing that God is going to draw all men unto him, and we're going to see a mighty harvest of souls.
Amen. Sean, keep it up, my friend. We're praying for you. Come back and let us know how it goes this next round of worship events in Canada. Sean, be safe. God bless. Praying for you, folks. Follow Sean across social media. And coming up, we head from Canada to California and a brand new bill that has Christians under fire. Pastor Sammy Rodriguez is here with the inside story next. Stick around.
Chaos continues. Another devastating missile strike.
Myanmar is reeling following a massive 7.7 earthquake.
Wildfires consumed over 55,000 acres, destroying thousands of homes.
It was quite devastating. The love and the compassion, the care and the concern with everything they did was just amazing. I've never experienced God's love like that.
Everything we do here is about the cross. Taking the cross to the ends of the world. Telling men and women about God's Son, Jesus Christ. That's what we do.
It's beyond powerful. That's the Spirit of God on earth.
We do all that we can to share the hope that we have. When we see a person's changed, and when a person who was in darkness not walking in light, you just say, Lord, thank you. Thank you.
Tonight on Takeaways, we're talking about intelligent design evidence with Justin Brierley.
There is this incredible intellectual core to Christianity that actually really makes sense. It makes sense of us, our experience. It makes sense of the universe.
And scientist Casey Luskin.
We're talking about looking at the amount of information that we see in DNA, or how the universe is fine-tuned for life.
Join us tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on TVN or TVN+.
Welcome back to Stacklebeck Tonight. He's advised presidents, leads the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, and stands unapologetically at the intersection of faith and culture. Pastor Sammy Rodriguez has never shied away from tough conversations from Capitol Hill to the streets of California. And now, as radical legislation threatens families and anti-Semitism spreads across college campuses, his voice is more needed than ever. Pastor Sam is also lead pastor of New Season Church in Sacramento and a Stacklebeck Tonight contributor, and he joins us now. Pastor Sam, always great to see you. Hey, let's start in California. This bill, AB 495, it's been called the legislator trafficking bill, is being blasted by pro-family and anti-trafficking groups for potentially criminalizing parents and ministries that do not affirm the state's radical gender ideology. Pastor Sam, what do you think of this bill? How dangerous is it for the people of California?
Unbelievably dangerous. Thank you for having me. Always great to be with you. Unbelievably dangerous. This is the moment. This may be the Rubicon, my friend. This may be it. If the pastors in California, and you're privy to the fact, Eric, that California has an incredible amount of influential churches, mega churches, networks, and so forth. There is a stat out there that I need to confirm that actually states that there are more churches in California than any other state in America, which makes the logical sense. If these Bible-believing pastors would stand up, then we would build a firewall against this ludicrousy. We know that California is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but now they've taken this a step way too far. And now if parents and Christians and pastors do not become fully engaged, this is it. This is where they come after us for not affirming an ideology that is counterintuitive to the word and the will of God.
Yeah, well said, Pastor Sam. This is the Rubicon. You're right. This is a line in the sand for believers in the Golden State. No doubt you're at the forefront of that. Hey, speaking of madness in California, President Trump recently froze hundreds of millions of dollars in grants to UCLA for the rampant anti-Semitism on campus there. Talk more about that, and what a refreshing take to have President Trump hold these colleges accountable.
It's my taxpayer money. It's your money. The American funding anti-Semitism. Does Sam Rodriguez or the Rodriguez family want to fund anti-Semitism? Does the Sackleback family want to fund anti-Semitism? Absolutely not. It's the right thing to do. These universities, not just do the indoctrination, but the messaging and the mobilization strategy, these are hotbeds for anti-Semitism across America. These are little pro-Hamas centers. They really are. De facto non-for-profit centers expanding and exacerbating the ideology of Hamas. It's anti-Semitism on steroids. So I am glad, once again, here's President Trump, exercising prophetic courage for such a time as this. I completely applaud it. Go after every single university that permits this perverse ideology to impact our children.
Yeah, it's all about accountability. And the great thing is President Trump has all the leverage over these universities, and he's not afraid to use it. Hey, speaking of anti-Semitism, Pastor Sam, and what's happening in Israel right now, Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, in Israel right now, actually in Judea and Samaria as well, the biblical heartland. How important is it for people like a Speaker Johnson, for President Trump, to take a stand for the land right now, the land of Israel, as the anti-Semitic madness is growing, and we see Western leaders, whether it's the UK, Canada, France, caving to the pro-Hamas mobs?
Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, that's one of the highest ranking elected officials, at least in my generation, that affirming Judea and Samaria as an integral part of the state, the nation, and the destiny of Israel. That's not just news. That's ginormous news. And not only do I applaud it, it's the right thing to do. It's a complete affirmation of what we know is biblically correct. But even more over, it would be even more politically correct in light of what's happening with Hamas and the threats from Iran and so forth. So Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, doing this is a clarion call, a pushback on the UK, on France that you mentioned, the crazy protests in Sydney, Australia. What was that? It is a pushback on the Western nations that are being empathetic with evil. Listen to me carefully. There is no room for empathy as it pertains to evil. You can't be empathetic with evil. And some of the Western nations are drinking that Kool-Aid, and Speaker Mike Johnson is saying, not in our watch.
Yeah. Pastor Sam, you just returned from a whirlwind global tour, New Zealand, Brazil, some other countries. Do you get a sense that this is sort of a wheat and tares kind of moment where there's a dividing line here, and God is kind of separating the sheep from the goats when it comes to nations? And in many cases, it seems that Israel may be that dividing line.
There is a separation. Without a doubt, Eric, there is brilliantly laid out. There is. This is a Matthew 25 moment, a sheep to goat moment. You reference Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20 previously. Woe to those that label good evil and evil good. Woe to those that exchange light for darkness. It's that. But it's not Arab nations versus Israel. It's not Muslim nations versus Israel. It's Western nations that are abandoning a Judeo-Christian value system. At the end of the day, it's about that. The abandonment, the refusal, the coming against, the emerging as very strong antagonists towards a Judeo-Christian worldview. Canada, Australia, the UK, France, and then on the other side, we have Argentina, Paraguay, Ecuador, even Peru rising up right now. We have Italy, we have Hungary, and even a shift in Germany. There are nations that are saying, no, not in our watch. So it is sheep versus goat. This is a moment of clarity, and here we are to witness it and to advocate for righteousness and justice, truth and love for such a time as this.
Amen. Pastor Sammy Rodriguez, always well said. And hey, this is the time to shine light in the darkness. You are doing exactly that in California and around the world, my friend. Be sure to follow Pastor Sam, X, Instagram, across social media. Pastor Sam, great seeing you as always. Keep up the great work, my friend. God bless. We'll see you again soon. And coming up after the break, my final thoughts on the world's turn against Israel and what the God of Israel has to say about it. That's next. Don't move. Book of Zechariah, chapter 12, verses 2 and 3. I am going to make Jerusalem, God says, a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling. Judah will be besieged as well as Jerusalem. On that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. All who try to move it will injure themselves. Folks, that's a cautionary tale, not only for the likes of Hamas, Iran, and Hezbollah, of course, but for the UN and for European nations. And if, God forbid, America ever took an anti-Israel turn, the God of Israel is a promise-keeping God. He keeps his covenant.